Kia ora, good morning. Welcome to Connecting the Dots podcast. Today's going to be a quick one. I say that every time, but it's like sponge square bob pants 4 hours later. So, but this really should be quick. Today I want to talk about the Jeannette DePalma case. It is another really popular conspiracy all over the internet and YouTube. And if you look at the last conversation I put up on my social media in regards to calling out fakes and frauds, and if you look at the last video I put up regarding the conversation I had with one of my best friends from childhood, and all the stuff I put up on Twitter and that in regards to me calling people out, as one of the reasons why I do these podcasts and want to do these shows. It's important that people know the truth of what they're dealing with so they don't buy into the fear, because as a gatekeeper, as a high priestess, as an indigenous shaman, as an ordained minister as well, it is so important to me that people aren't fed lies when it comes to their spiritual development, their faith, their belief in what happens after we die. And as an evolutionary theorist and occult scientist and theoretical physicist and, all of that, like all of my science and all the work that I do as a time jumper, as an occult scientist, as an occult minister, as a presenter for the Eye in the Sky shows, as a podcaster for Connecting the Dots podcast, as a writer for my occult private eye articles, that will all be put together to go up on my website, and that once my boys and I get justice and we can move up to Scotland to tune what it is that I've been creating over the last since 2013 with my blog, 2016 with trying to have students in that, and wanting to make my shows, and having my radio career in Chicago and that with the paranormal hour and all of that. Like, this has been a culmination of all of those years, practicing and rehearsing and fine-tuning and whittling down everything that I am, everything that I know, everything that I can do, into the final product, which is going to be what you get once we leave Yorkshire, once we've got justice, because then I'll have the money to hire staff and a film crew and all of that sort of thing, and present these shows to you like TV shows. As in, like, I will be presenting the Eye in the Sky show like a TV show, like Most Haunted or Ghost Adventures and that, but my way. And so I've been practicing. If you know my YouTube channel, if you know, all the stuff that I've been putting up over the years and that, it's all been to fine tune and perfect my craft and my presentation, because this stuff is important to me, because it has to be important to me, because I am a high priestess, because I am an indigenous shaman, because I am an ordained minister, because I am an occult minister, because I am a time jumper, I am a teacher, I am a leader. It is important that everything that I put out and everything that I represent is the truth. And because I guide people's spiritual development, I guide people's ascensions, I remove all the darkness and nastiness and fear and psychological imbalance and misconstrued, misunderstood, misrepresented lies in their life, be it through the people around them, the way they're living, what they're choosing to believe, how they're acting, how they're reacting, what they're learning, how they're conducting themselves out in the world, that as an ascension master, as a gatekeeper, is my responsibility. So, I'm not here for everyone. Like, not everybody in the world is going to be embracing of what it is I am and what it is I do. And that's completely fine, because we all have free will. You have the right to believe and act and conduct yourself in whatever manner you want to. I'm not here for you then. Like, if you don't resonate with me, then I'm not here for you. You're not on an ascending path. If you refuse to remove negative people or behaviors or traits or thought patterns, or actions from your life, then you're not on the path that I'm on. And therefore I'm not here to help you. I'm here to help people who are tired of living a life where the media is feeding them lies, where people on social media are feeding them lies and inaccuracies, where people on YouTube are feeding them lies and profiting from it, especially if they're profiting from it, whether it's because they're getting advertising through their channel, or they're getting money through, selling extended readings or giving private readings or selling merchandise and that. If they're not representing the occult and faith the right way, then as a gatekeeper, I have been put here to shut it down. And that includes journalists and police officers and politicians and whoever it is. If you are misrepresenting the laws of universal karma and the laws of universal justice, then you are going to be put in my path for me to investigate what it is you're doing and how you're selling yourself to the people. And then after I make my findings, it is my job to correct the wrongs and shut them down and whistleblow and say, look, they're not telling the truth, they're not representing you in your highest, greater good, and if you choose to believe the lies, that's completely fine, but then you can't complain when you get scared at every little thing that goes bump in the night. Or, when you're constantly putting yourself in places where you think there's perceived paranormal or satanic ritualistic behaviors and evidence and that sort of thing, and then you get so scared you end up having some sort of mental breakdown, and that you can't then hold me responsible because I tried to tell you the truth. And if you choose not to listen, then it's on you, because free will. I am putting my truth out there, and my truth will resonate with the people who are tired of being told what to think and feel when it comes to their spiritual development, and being told to fear things that they shouldn't be fearing. Because how death is perceived and how the evolution of one's soul and consciousness is perceived will absolutely dictate what happens to you next in this life and the next one. And as an Egyptian high priestess by bloodline, it is my responsibility to make sure that all the people under my flock, all the people who resonate with me, all the people who know that I have their highest good in mind, they will come, they will listen, they will understand that I am making sure that when it is their time to cross over, they go to the underworld for their day of judgment without fear of purgatory or religious reprisals, or justice that is going to cause them to not be able to move on to the afterlife. I am here to wash away people's fears and misunderstood beliefs about religion and the occult and the paranormal and the supernatural, and all the people under the psychic umbrella, which, psychic is the science. So I'm here to basically turn the light on to make the darkness in all those areas be illuminated with the truth, so that people can make informed decisions about what it is they choose to believe going forward, and how they conduct themselves based on what they choose to believe. I am not here to single out the genuine people who have gifts, who are doing what they do for the greater good of mankind. If they are humble, if they are honest, if they are, representing themselves as such, and they are genuinely doing a good job, then these are the people that I am trying to protect. Because what happens is, by me doing what I do, I remove the ones who are causing the trouble, the ones who are spreading the darkness and the fear, to make room for the ones who are the little lights in the corner trying to shine brightly, but they're being overshadowed by the ones that are, the bigger, more famous, more popular, have the most subscribers, likes, make the most money kind of people. Because just because you make a lot of money doing what you do when you represent this lifestyle, it doesn't mean you're good at it. It doesn't mean that you have permission to do it. And so with my podcasts and with my shows, I come along, I do my little investigations, and then I report my findings. And if you look at what I just posted in my community section or on my social media pages, and that the Jeannette DePalma case ties into this for this exact same reason, because I've looked into it and I have sat with her for the last couple of days, and it grinds my gears, as Peter Griffin would say. It grinds my gears, because there are thousands upon thousands of people with YouTube channels talking about this case, and with websites and podcasts and that, talking about this case and spreading lies. And it's got to stop, because by these people doing that, they are not allowing people like Jeannette DePalma, they're not allowing their souls, their spirits, to cross over in peace, because a soul can't cross over in peace if there's been an injustice. They're never truly at rest or at peace as long as there's been an injustice in how their name is carried forward after they die. And, like, I'm not talking about people who are victims of an injustice, like, people who are innocent, who are murdered in that, they cross over. I'm talking about people who are victims of an injustice with their name after they've died. Because, your name, because murder victims and, people like Jeannette DePalma, their death is immortalised now forever throughout time, because of how it was reported in the news and on the radio and in podcasts and on YouTube channels and stuff. So I can guarantee you that she has not been allowed to cross over and move on in peace. Which is why when I get to New Jersey, when, I'm doing the East Coast side of doing investigations for shows for the Eye in the Sky show, I will be going to the place where her body was found, and I will be cleansing it and crossing her over, because she needs to cross over in peace. In the small majority of cases where there are actually trapped spirits, where the dead can't actually cross over, it's 99.9% of the time because of people like Jeannette DePalma, or because, like, their death was like sudden, or they fear judgment in the afterlife. They're the three reasons why a spirit would be trapped. They're the only three reasons why a spirit would be trapped. But trapped spirits are a very rare phenomenon, and you have to know what you're looking for to know whether it's what you're dealing with or not. Now, there's never been any reported sightings of her where her body was found or anything like that, but the fact that this lie and this myth has been turned into a legend of paranormal proportions will absolutely be guaranteeing that everybody that has her name in their mouth in an incorrect manner is causing her soul suffering to not be able to cross over in peace. So even if, because she was innocent, she wasn't innocent, she was 16 years old, she was a baby, and she was a very devout Christian, in that she had a very strong faith in God, which is important to this case. So even if she has been reborn, reincarnated, and she's living a new life as someone, in their 50s, or early 60s, this is a person who would not have lived a life where they lived a life of peace. They would never have gotten peace. If the person that she became after she died has lived a life where they have been unsettled, where they've had psychological issues, where they've dealt with things like paranoia and anxiety and fear of the dark and fear of forests and all that sort of thing, that is attributed to the fact that who they were before as Jeannette didn't get a restful passing. They didn't get, they haven't been allowed to live a life of peace in this one, because the spirit and memory of who they were as Jeannette hasn't been allowed to cross over in peace, because there has been an injustice placed upon her name. And this is what people need to be aware of when they are putting out these videos and telling these stories and, you know, putting all this stuff out there that is a lie against people who have died, like Bathsheba Sherman, for example. You know, I did the video about her, which I mentioned in the article that I just posted. You are responsible. These people who are perpetuating these myths and lies are solely responsible for ensuring that these people do not get to cross over and live peaceful lives. That karma that has been placed upon them will just keep repeating themselves over and over and over again, until the person that they become is living a life where they finally realize what's happened to them, and they can lay that part of themselves to rest of who they were, where the victimization first began, in order to heal who they are now, so that the next time they cross over, they get to cross over with total peace. And as a gatekeeper, as I keep saying, as a high priestess, people's deaths are my responsibility. How they die and the level of burden that is removed from them, the purity of their heart, the purity of their spirit, the purity and dedication of their faith, is my responsibility. Because then when they die, they, you know, when we all die, we all get judged, don't we? So what karmic debt you've carried over from past lives gets put on the scales. So as a high priestess, it is my job to show people how to remove karmic debt from the lives they're living now. When things are going wrong, if you have any of these aforementioned anxieties and issues, and, you know, constant bad luck and karma and unease and unrest and never getting out of the mire of, you know, the quandaries of life and bad relationships and that sort of thing, there's a reason why, and it can always be traced back to childhood and past lives. And so I come along with my shows and my podcasts and, you know, my articles and that, and I'm here to say this is why this is happening and this is what you can do to fix it. And it starts with accepting the truth about a lot of these people that are profiting and getting fame and popularity, and that from spreading lies and rumours and myths about death and the paranormal and the supernatural and the occult and what happens when we die. Because they are the reason why people like Jeannette DePalma are still being talked about in an unjust, untrue light, where it should be that people go, oh, okay, that's what that was, and then it's dropped, and then from then on she is only ever talked about as an innocent victim of an injustice, and, you know, where we can bring her killer to justice, and where we can talk about her in a positive light and say, you know, she was a victim of injustice, not by the person who took her life, but by the people who allowed that killer to get away with something that she had no responsibility over, that the police had no control over stopping, because people chose to run with a lie and sell it like the killer was something that they weren't. Because, how do I explain this? Her killer, whether they have been brought to justice in this life or not, will be held accountable for everything that they've done wrong to her and to any other victim that they may have had before and after her. You know, like, if you're the sort of person who takes the life of an innocent child once, chances are you've taken the life of other innocent things, you know, before and after that. Like, you don't just randomly kill someone and then, you know, never hurt someone again. You know, once you get that bloodlust in you, that's the sort of thing that's, you know, you've released that devil. It's hard to curtail. However, the reason for my podcast is that I do not believe at all that this had anything to do with satanic rituals or Satanism or anything like that. I'll obviously, as you know, put links in the description box below. But there is no evidence. The police just recently released a photo of the crime scene to prove that there's no evidence that where her body was found, there were crucifixes, and, you know, that her body was put inside like a makeshift coffin. It kind of looks like she was killed and thrown in a bush, basically, you know, just dumped and disregarded. However, there are thousands of people and thousands of journalists, hundreds of thousands of journalists and people all over the internet and YouTube and that selling this myth that she was surrounded by crosses when she wasn't. You can clearly see from the autopsy photo, from the crime scene, that she wasn't surrounded by any of that stuff. So who started it? You know, whoever it was that started those lies needs to be ashamed of themselves. Because of them, a little girl hasn't been able to cross over in peace, and her spirit, a part of her consciousness, is forever trapped in the place where her life was taken because they spread lies against her name. And what I want to say is, in the future, whenever you are dealing with anyone who says, oh, it was a satanic ritual, they were devil worshippers, blah, 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 look at the date. Because, like with my Ariki Rigby case, which is a beautiful Māori, Indigenous Māori girl from back home in Aotearoa in New Zealand, who was found murdered, and she had her hands chopped off, and I'll put a link in the description box below. She was, in my belief, a victim of a satanic ritual, because Satanists, devil worshippers, witches, anyone dealing with black and white magic, the dates are important. The moon and sun cycles are important. And so you must always look at the dates. And, you know, Satanists have like a ritual calendar. And I'll put it in the description box below. So when anyone comes along and says, oh, it's believed to be, you know, devil worshipping Satanists, this, that, and the other thing, look at the dates. If they know what they're doing, they stick to a schedule, they stick to a ritual. The word ritual means like over and over, doing it over and over. There's a repetition to it. It's ritualistic. It is, you know, they follow an order and a structure. And they would not go outside of the dates that are required, that are special in their faith or their practice or whatever, you know, like how we have Easter and we have Christmas on the 25th and that sort of thing. They're rituals. People don't realise that when we have Christmas and when we have Easter and we have things like Thanksgiving and that, they are essentially occult and faith-based rituals. We follow the date. We have the same date. We follow the same pattern. We do the same thing. We eat the same foods. We do, you know, we follow the same instruction and the same law, LORE, you know, that sort of thing. That is an occult ritualistic practice, and people don't realise that. Well, Satanists and devil worshippers and witches and that are exactly the same. So look at the date. I have reason to believe, with Lizanne Froon and Chris Creamers, I believe they were also victims of occult ritual sacrifice in Panama. I just need to be able to pinpoint the dates of when their remains were found so that I can work back between when their phone became inactive to when their remains were found, to look at the calendar to see whether that falls in line with anything that was going on at the time. Because if people are serious about their devil worshipping and their Satanism, they wouldn't do any sacrifice outside of those dates. You're not allowed to. And what you need to understand with Satanism, and this is probably next to crystals and what an empath is the biggest fallacy of them all when it comes to this whole thing, is that Satanists and devil worshippers are not the same. And Satanists get lumped in with devil worshippers like they're exactly the same thing, and they're not. People are throwing around the term Satanist and Satanism like they're devil worshippers, and they're not, because a Satanist is not someone who does human or animal sacrifices at all. Satanist, a real Satanist, is somebody who has chosen to live a hedonistic lifestyle like that of Satan. They worship Satan like an idol because they want to be like Satan, who was, as we know in the Bible, the popular handsome one who likes to party and, adorn himself in the finest treasures, and was lustful and liked to be worshipped, and he was vain and very good looking and powerful, and he wanted all of God's attention. And this is, if you look at it from a biblical perspective, this is who Satan was. So he was cast out for being jealous at the fact that God loved man more than God loved Satan, because Satan just wanted to be worshipped and adored. He wanted to be known as the beautiful, strong one who was, smart and clever and funny, and, worshipped by everyone for being, the popular guy in the nightclub sort of thing. That's Satan. So a Satanist is somebody who every single Satanist I've ever met in my life, very, very intelligent people. They're exceptionally hardworking, and they have positions of power within their jobs that most people wouldn't even know that they were Satanists, because of the misconception of what it is that a Satanist is. Because people will automatically hear the word Satanist and think, oh, devil worship, and it's not. The devil is not the same as Satan, just like Jesus isn't the same as God. Okay, now from an occult perspective, from my perspective, God is Satan, because as it even says in the Bible that God can visit hell and Satan can visit heaven. God is dual in nature. God is the duality. God is duality. Like we have the light side and the dark side, and we have, our positive sides and our negative sides. We have our positive traits and our negative traits, or as Nietzsche says, our genies and our demons. God is Satan. And Satan punishes people who commit crimes against the pure and innocent. So a Satanist is not the sort of person that is going to run around hurting children and animals, hurting, like making human sacrifices and things like that. That's what a devil worshipper does. A Satanist sticks by the rules of their faith, and their faith is that they do no harm to the pure and innocent, that everything they do is their own doing of their own free will. So if a Satanist does use blood, it will be their own blood that they use in a ritual, or it will be the blood of somebody who loves them within their coven, or their order or their temple, who will offer the blood for the sacrifice. So they'll cut their finger and say, they'll prick their finger and say, you can use my blood in your ritual because I love you and trust you, like that sort of thing. They don't go killing people. They don't go killing animals. They have good jobs. They are highly intelligent people. They are immaculately dressed. They will wear the finest of clothes, have the nicest of homes, drive the nicest of cars, and all they do is admire a side of God that is the punisher, the wrathful side, who is also the vain, enigmatic, popular, hedonistic version of God. Because if you want to get down to it in this way, God is very demanding. You shall worship only me. I am to be your one and only. He says, I am a jealous God. Jealousy is a Satanist trait. Jealousy is a trait of Satan. So the Bible, in my opinion, as an occult minister, as an ordained minister, in my opinion, God is admitting that he is Satan, and that when you make him angry, he comes down, he flips into Satan to punish all those who have sinned against him and his flock of innocent lambs. So people need to understand that about Satanists. So if anyone says to you, oh, they're a Satanist, they do sacrifices, and they're not Satanists. They're not a Satanist, they're a devil worshipper. You need to understand the difference between the two. A devil worshipper is completely the opposite. Look at a Satanist as a warlock. Look at a devil worshipper as a wizard. A wizard is somebody who does it for the fame, the money, the prestige, the power, the control, in order to please a higher power. A Satanist has the power and the control and the means in that in order to be the power, in order to be like that which they worship. So the devil worshipper does it to please, well, they think Satan, but the Satanist does it to be like Satan. And what devil worshippers don't understand is that when they do these sacrifices, they aren't sacrificing the innocent animal or person or plant to please Satan, to please the devil with which they worship, be it Baphomet, Molech, whatever you want to call him, Baal. They've been lured by the devil in order to test their will and their strength to see whether Satan is going to be their next step. So a devil worshipper doesn't realize that everything they do, they are the victim. They are the one who has been given the test. The person, it's like, if you have what it takes to kill this animal or kill this person in the name of Satan, then you are the victim of the devil, and it is you who will be punished, because the person or animal that they take the life of then goes to the afterlife and, into the arms of their God. Animals especially will, no question, they go to the afterlife. They get reborn. Any life that is sacrificed for a faith or religion is basically given free will to decide what it is they want to become next, because they died for their faith, they died for God. So they get carte blanche to do whatever they want when they cross over. The one who took the life of the animal or the person for their devil, for the devil they're worshipping, they are the victims of the sacrifice. They are the true sacrifice. They are the ones being sacrificed by the devil to make an offering to Satan. So the devil worshippers are the victims of the sacrifice by the devil. The devil was sacrificing the devil worshippers to say to Satan, I told you they couldn't be trusted. I told you they were bad. You go and deal to them. And then Satan takes their souls, takes them to the underworld, and then they go to hell, basically, which in my faith and my understanding of it is the devolution or the de-evolution of their consciousness. They become dark matter. They become like a black hole. When we die, our atom, we get turned into atoms which create the universe and continue to create mankind 100 years after the planet, the universe. Everything out in the universe is made of all life in the universe since the Big Bang, that has lived and died and reincarnated over and over and over and over again. So for somebody to be taken by Satan into the bowels of hell is basically they become antimatter. They become atoms that aren't allowed to go on to create the new universe, the new world, and that's what happens. So with Jeannette, there's no evidence that Satanism was involved. Apparently, quote unquote, the police got a witch down and said, look at the crime scene, tell us what you think. The police are saying that never happened. They don't know how she died. The coroner put it down as strangulation. He hasn't ruled it as homicide, but just like a suspicious death. She died in a suspicious way. Now, if there was a cover up, and there really was crosses, and she was put in a coffin, like thing surrounded by logs, that doesn't point to Satanism at all. That points to somebody who was Christian of faith, because a Satanist and a devil worshipper would never have a crucifix. If they did, it would be upside down. If they did, it would be a distorted crucifix. Like the upside down cross, if you want to look at it, from a religious perspective, is the crucifixion of John, is it? An upside down crucifix means like the spilling of the blood of an innocent prophet. I think because of the crucifixion of John, I'll correct that if I'm wrong in the description box, but I'm pretty sure that's what an upside down cross means in the Bible, is like the crucifixion of John, the innocent spilling of the blood of a prophet. Or it can mean like the Leviathan, which again, the Church of Satanism, the upside down cross, the Leviathan, which is the serpent, the devil, the serpent's tongue, the devil's tongue, and the serpent they talk about in the Bible, in the book of Revelations, and that sort of thing. Satanists, the Church of Satanism has got an upside down cross, the Church of Leviathan, and I know this because my ex-husband, the one who tried to sacrifice me, would wear Church of Leviathan t-shirts and stuff, and I used to think, what the hell are you doing? Having a cross upside down with the serpent's tongue, the devil's tongue, the devil, and an upside down cross, if you look at it as a biblical thing, which would have no reference to devil worshipping and Satanism. Like, it's a complete misunderstanding. Like, it's like they've crossed frequencies and gotten it wrong, because a devil worshipper would never have a crucifix. The devil worshipper would have the upside down crucifix with the Leviathan serpent, because they're saying that they oppose God and worship the devil, who is basically the gatekeeper to the doorways of hell, where Satan, that's Satan's kingdom. So in that respect, it would be devil worship. But a Satanist wouldn't have an upside down cross with the Leviathan. They would have an upside down cross in reference to the crucifixion of John, the innocent spilling of the blood of an innocent prophet, because Satanists represent the protection and the meting out the laws of karma against those who sin against the pure and innocent, because Satan punishes the pure and innocent. So a Satanist would never do anything that represented the hurting or the killing of anyone or anything that was pure and innocent. Do you see what I mean? So this is where you need to start like rewiring your brain. So if it turns out that the police are covering it up, that there were crosses, and that she was put in a coffin, because of the fact that, the media just had a feeding frenzy off all of this when it happened, they're not dealing with somebody who killed her that was a devil worshipper or a Satanist. They're dealing with someone who believed in God, or respected the fact that she believed in God because she was a Christian. So, which would imply that it was somebody who knew her very well, and somebody that either hung out in her Christian faith circles, or knew her well enough that knew that her faith and her religion and her connection to God meant that much to her, which wouldn't be somebody who was a devil worshipper, because they wouldn't care. They would laugh at the fact, they would relish the fact that they would think that they had that control over her to not let her go to her God, because a devil worshipper is, anti-God. They are the anti-Christ. And anti-Christ is somebody who is a Christ denier. They are somebody who does not believe in, Christ being the salvation and the light, and God being where you go once you meet Christ. Once you step into the light of salvation, and that you meet God through Jesus. Jesus is the gateway to heaven. The devil is the gateway to hell. So a devil worshipper would not surround her with crosses and put her in a coffin, because they would see doing that as allowing her to go to God, which is the antithesis of everything they believe in. So if that was true, and the police are covering it up and only letting us see so much, then it is somebody either who had a strong belief in God, like a very strong belief in God, or somebody who respected the fact that she did, which means it has to have been somebody in her close circle that she possibly didn't want her family knowing that she was going to see. When she told her family, her mother, that she was going to see a friend, she was going to take a train to see a friend, blah, blah, blah. Whoever this friend was is more than likely going to be the person that the police needed to look at. I don't know whether they, went through the phone records at the time, who she was talking to at the time, but I have reason to believe, and this is all I'm going to say on the matter, I have reason to believe that she has had phone conversations with the person who took her life, especially in the 2 weeks, from what I was told, running up to her disappearance, that she had phone conversations with the person who took her life, who she was going to meet that day, but it was somebody that she didn't want her parents knowing she was going to meet, more than likely for the simple fact that they wouldn't have been happy with the fact knowing she was going off to meet a boy. Everybody says, she was hanging around with a bad crowd and blah, blah, blah. But I'm not, but there were even people who were saying, oh, she was probably up there smoking weed. But, they got blood results back. There was no poison. There was no drugs. There was no alcohol. There was none of that in her system. They're not even sure how she died, although from what I was told when I sat with her, she was strangled. But because her body was in such a bad state of decomposition, it was hard for the coroner to tell, which also implies that she died the day she went missing or a day or two after she went missing, because when her body was found a couple of months later, she was in a bad enough state that they couldn't tell how she died. They know she wasn't sexually assaulted, and some people are saying, that the killer left stains and stuff like that. But as far as her underwear and all that was concerned, and that sort of thing, there was no foreign hairs found. There was no blood found that wasn't her own, which might actually imply that maybe she was on her period. I don't know. All I know is that there was blood found in her underwear, but it was hers, and no other person's DNA was anywhere near her underwear or her pants in that kind of way. And that the traces of DNA that they found on her shirt and all of that sort of thing were too decomposed to run through testing, which I would be interested to see what would happen if they tried to test it now with the way that forensics has come along. And I say that for the simple fact that we've been able to test DNA from people that died 2,000 years ago, and know that they were raped, and know that what they ate, and what food the diet that they had, from the stains on their teeth and all of that. So I would be interested to see if there was a way that they could come up with trying to find something off one of those samples to lead it back to the killer, now with the way that forensics is advancing. But that's my opinion on the matter. I said it was only going to be a couple of minutes. I do it every time. Just once I start, I can't stop, because I'm a voice for the innocent, and I'm trying to teach people how to recorrect all these things that they've been fed that are lies, that are perpetuating a myth that is causing a lot of suffering to a lot of people out there who don't realise that the reason why they're suffering is because in their last life their names were kept in the mouths of people that spread lies upon their name. And so, I'm here to help correct all of that. And then when I get to New Jersey to do the new, because I want to investigate the New Jersey Devil and all that sort of thing. So when I get to New Jersey, I will track down the people who are trying to fight to get justice for her name and get them to take me to where she was found. And then with my candles and my spray, I will do a ritual to cross her spirit over to let her go, because I know she's there. I'm currently burning. I actually just yesterday made up candle melts for New Year's rituals. So once I'm all registered and ready to go and got my shows out there and I've got my products all like trademarked and copywritten and blah blah blah, all that sort of thing, I'm going to bring out once a year um, New Year's Eve ritual candle melts for people to burn in the week running up to, so you will burn it from Boxing Day to New Year's Day, one every day, to clear out all the negativity of the old year to make way and purify the birth of the new year. But I'll only bring them out at Christmas time for, the New Year's Eve, the New Year's Day ritual, out with the old and with the new. So make sure everybody out there that's listening, take your Christmas trees down before New Year's Day. It is important you take your Christmas tree down as soon after Christmas as possible. Do not have your Christmas tree up for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, because it means that everything, all the negativity that has been stuck to that tree that you put up at the time, to celebrate your Christmas, will be taken over into the new year. So unless you have my candle melts, you need to make sure that you get your trees down before New Year's Eve, because you don't want to take the old into the new. Okay, so anyway, I'll put links in the description box below. And I can't wait to bring the Eye in the Sky show to you with a film crew where we get to go on location, where you'll see me walking in front of the camera, presenting it the way that I do. I've spent the last couple of days working on what I want my show's intro to look like. I finally decided on how I want to present myself physically, like, the face of the brand sort of thing. And, my podcast as well. I'll be setting up my little podcast station in my new home once my boys and I get justice in that. So yeah, so it's getting very exciting. So links in the description box below. And if you have any questions, you can contact me at the theeyeintheskyshow@gmail.com. And if there's anything you want me to look into, any cases you want me to investigate, or places you want me to go to once my boys and I are in Scotland and that, don't hesitate to contact me. And I will speak to you later, and look after yourself, and I hope you had a wonderful, safe Christmas, and have a bright, prosperous and exciting new year to come. I'll speak to you later. Ka kite anō. Mwah.